IVM.
Hi, I'm Gauri Devidayal, a law graduate turned CA turned restaurateur turned podcaster. Clearly, I'm taking a while to figure this work thing out. I spent 9 years doling out tax advice and the next 9 doling out delicious food. So now, why a podcast? No, it's not because I still can't cook an egg more than 10 years into running multiple F&B businesses. This podcast has been such a long time in the making. Maybe it started off as an escape from my daily grind, but then as COVID loomed over us, there was no daily grind, with restaurants not quite being able to switch to a work-from-home format. I knew that if I didn't start now, I never would. I'd noticed an overnight change in dynamic for a lot of industries, and at the same time, the need for entrepreneurs to be more nimble on their feet. Like with most others, no doubt, I had so many questions going through my mind, not just about the future of my business, but the future of everything. I was having conversations, mostly on Instagram Lives, with so many different people in different fields, and realized that most people were going through the same thing, but perhaps just dealing with it differently. And that's when I worked out what I wanted my show to be about. To learn from thought leaders and rewire our minds to look at the future with perhaps a different lens. And the more the penny dropped that we are all at a point where we're rethinking every aspect of our lives, how we can live better, more sustainably, more efficiently, with more meaning and impact perhaps, I couldn't think of a better inspiration for my first guest. He's someone who's always exuded the view that when it comes to business, profits shouldn't be our sole focus, but rather a byproduct of focusing on one's purpose or mission. He's one of the most celebrated entrepreneurs of our country, who lives and leads his life and workplace with purpose. He's someone whom I truly admire, Mr. Harsh Mariwala. He leads Marico Ltd, a leading consumer products and services company in the beauty and wellness space, with products that have inevitably made their way into our homes in some shape or form. To get to the depth of this conversation, I'll be right back after this break.
Hey everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's been a really fun week this week, as it is almost every week, but this week was particularly fun. Parmesha Honey was on Cyrus Says, great conversation over there. We had a crossover event. Vineet Kanabar, host of the Storytellers and Storytellers podcast, came on Uncle Please Sit. Really interesting conversation about the future of digital content. Besides that, it was the 50th episode this week of Agla Station Adulthood. Congratulations to Ritasha and Ayushi. But yeah, they're 50 episodes down. They had Rekha Jha as the guest on that show. On Advertising is Dead, Varun had the founders of Foxy Moron, Suvir Bajaj and Pratik Gupta on. Another really interesting conversation. So full of interesting conversations this week. But with that, let's get you back to your show.
Today, I have a very special guest who is one of the thought leaders of our country and whom I've had the privilege to meet and be associated with since the last few years. He's a man who needs no introduction, but I will share a bit about him. He's none other than Mr. Harsh Mariwala, who leads Marico Ltd as its chairman. He's also chairman and managing director of Kaya Limited. Over the past 3 decades, Mr. Mariwala has transformed a traditional commodities-driven business into a leading consumer products and services company in the beauty and wellness space. Marico is known for its mega brands like Parachute, Safola, Set Wet, Livon, and Revive. From a turnover of 50 lakhs in 1971, Marico has scaled to a turnover of over 7,300 crores during 2019. Mr. Mariwala's passion for entrepreneurship, innovation, and making a difference enthused him to establish Marico Innovation Foundation, Mariwala Health Initiative, and Ascent Foundation, with the philanthropic aim of giving back to society. My association with Mr. Mariwala started since the time I joined Ascent, which is a non-for-profit venture designed as a unique peer-to-peer platform for entrepreneurs who have already embarked on their journey. Personally, I have gained a lot and have had the honor of listening to him at various Ascent events. Welcome to the show and thank you for being here. So I've often heard you say that the 2 most important days in a person's life is the day they're born and the day they found out why. How did you come to finding out your why?
So I think this captures the purpose, how to arrive at a purpose in a beautiful way. I believe this was written by Mark Twain, and it's very hard-hitting. It's very memorable. And normally when I speak on the subject of purpose at any audience, I ask this question to the audience. And normally I get the first answer right, which is the day I was born. And the second answer, the two most important days in your life, is something which doesn't come out right most of the times. The answers I get is the day I passed out of college, or the day I got married, the day I became father, the day I got my first paycheck. So I think the kind of answers I get are around those subjects. And when I tell them that the second most important day is the day you realize why you were born, I think that's very, very hard-hitting. And it just makes it so simple at one level in terms of to make others understand why we are born and what is the purpose in our life. So I think that's a very good way to involve audience and also make it memorable, because it is done very, very simplistic.
So can you tell us, is there, it seems like it's something that a lot of people would struggle with. So is there a roadmap for people to follow to find out their purpose?
I would say that, yes, at some stage in life, and normally I've seen in my own life that, this kind of thinking starts coming to you a little later in life, once you have established a business, once you are successful in business, because in the initial stages of your life, you are more interested in starting a new business or, growing the business or earning money. But at some stage when you've achieved all that, that's the time you start asking, what is all this for? And beyond a point, this cannot give you happiness, it cannot give you joy. And then you start saying, okay, I have done all this, but beyond this, what else in life? And that's the time when you start searching inside and say that, okay, what do I do? How do I give something back? And what is the purpose I can have, which will give me far more joy than making that money or setting up a business? So I would say that it depends individually on each person when that moment strikes. In my case, it came much later. Maybe Gauri, in your case, the fact that you are studying this subject so early in life, it could come earlier. But I think at some stage it would come in, and the earlier it would come in, the better. There is no hard and fast rule that once you arrive at a purpose, it has to be all your life. You may want to try and dip your fingers in something new, and you may realize that, okay, you may have had that purpose, but it's not taking you anywhere. And then you may again question that and say that, okay, can I revisit that? And can I redefine my purpose? So I think it's a continuous journey, and it cannot just happen one single day when, you say that I want to have a purpose in life. A lot of it is dependent on the fact that what are your passions? What have you done well in life? Because the purpose has to fit in with passions. It cannot just be standalone. And it could be as simple as being a good father, or a good husband, or a good to raise a good family. Or it could be as complex as taking on world's problems. So I think it all depends on each individual. What are their passions? What are their achievements? And where do they see adding value to others? Ideally to many more. I would say it's different than charity. And charity many times is associated with giving some donation to build a hospital or build a school or college. And to me, that's charity, where you just decide to give a certain amount to, say, Harvard School or whatever in India, any or hospital, To me, that's not active giving. I'm a strong advocate of if you want to get a satisfaction of what in terms of giving, you just need to give it financially, but more importantly, give it in terms of time, energy, effort. And that's what will give you far more satisfaction than just giving a donation to a hospital which is managed by somebody else. So I am, for one, a strong believer in active giving. And whatever I have done in the area of giving is actually a combination of financial as well as my time, money, energy, and creating a network of people who can help me drive that, because I can't do everything on my own. So for both the 2-3 initiatives I started, I have created a structure, a person who is responsible, a team. And I think that's what it gets traction once you do that.
But, just sort of, wanting to pick your brains a little bit more on this, the process of, or when you realize that, because it seems like a lot of people who get into, whether it's philanthropy of, financial or of time and ideas, it happens at a much later stage once you've achieved something in business or you've reached a certain financial stature. And I think that it's what I'm seeing happening around more now, with younger businesses and the next gen, is that this purpose is sort of being identified a lot earlier in the stage of their, life or career. And it's really driving what's happening with, whether it's their business, whether it's their personal choices. And, is this something that's just happening accidentally, or, is it something that, we should all be consciously thinking about? And how do you sort of define that? Is it about sort of creating a vision and a culture for your business? Is it about, how do you actually introspect to come to that, understanding?
It's a very good question. And I think you raised 2 or 3 issues. Why is it happening amongst the younger lot of people, which is a very, very welcome sign, I would say. And I think a lot has to do with their overall, how do they see future, I think the fact that most youngsters are far more sensitive to environment, sustainability, and purpose is an excellent sign that I think youth actually wants to play a role in shaping the world at a very young age. And that's a very, very good sign. And I would say that because the whole ecosystem has developed around it and youth has taken it forward, I think primarily because they are saying that, okay, if the way the world is going, what will happen to us in future? What will happen to our children? And, we have to ensure at a young age that we play that role. So whether it is a youngster wanting a job in an organization or wanting to start a business or to lead a certain lifestyle, they're always very sensitive to all these issues. And I've seen that most, we recruit a lot of MBAs, chartered accountants, and they see what the organization is doing in the area of purpose. What are they doing in the area of environment, sustainability? And they would reject an organization if that organization is not taking those steps, which they want the organization to take. So I think there is a lot of pressure which is building in the whole ecosystem and also amongst companies which makes them drive their purpose. It is also driven by the selection of board of directors because they want the board, new board member may want to join a company which is purpose driven, which is what is known as ESG, ESG, environment, sustainability and governance. And even the government is demanding it. So I think there is a whole confluence of factors which is adding to this journey of purpose getting far more importance. A lot of research also has been done in this area, and some research which I was actually influenced by, and this happened about 10, 15 years back, and around 10 years back, when I read a book written by Professor Jagdish Sheth and Professor Raj Sisodia. And the name of the book is The Firms of Endearment. And they have studied that firms which are having a purpose, which look at all the stakeholders, not just shareholders, are doing far better in the area of financial performance. They copied or they compared the firms of endearment which they had identified with the good to great companies and over a 10-year period, and they've beaten that index by a huge margin. So it pays to look at all the stakeholders and not just shareholders. And we've seen examples of organizations like financial organizations in the Western world, which led to the Great Depression of 2008. And I think most of them were driven by only looking at the shareholders. So when you look at all the stakeholders, then, each one is interconnected. And because they are interconnected, I think it just adds to each other in terms of performance. So it's very important to drive a purpose which is for all the stakeholders. So I would say one more thing which you asked for is the personal purpose and the organizational purpose. Then these two are different at one level. Each organization has to have a purpose. In case of my own organization, Marico, the purpose is to be more every day and make a difference. So we are saying we should make a difference to all the lives we touch, whether it is our own customers or whether it's our associates or whether it's our shareholders or our own employees. What can we do that extra which will make a difference to their lives? And I think that's the purpose. And every year we measure what new things have we done to each of our stakeholders. I think that's driving a very good feeling within the organization, that the organization is looking at all the stakeholders and not just shareholders. Now, when it comes to personal purpose, and I think your question was, how do you arrive at a purpose? I think in both in case of organizational purpose and personal purpose, you have to look at the past. What are you good at? On what basis you've succeeded in life, and what excites you in terms of passions? And you need to do insighting about that, and look at options. What could be the purpose based on the option? Because purpose has to actually drive you in terms of passion, grit, and taking it forward. If it is active purpose, if it is just giving a donation, then that's different. But I am more interested in people who are living their purpose in an active, giving manner, and not just giving funds, but actually involving, giving time, giving energy, effort. So I think the key thing is to identify what are you passionate about, list it down, and then prototype some of the options. And then some of them may work out, some of them may not work out. And I'll just give you an example of what I did. My purpose is to basically, I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm very passionate about innovation. I'm very passionate about preventive healthcare, because many of the current today's diseases can be prevented by leading the right lifestyle. So you need to lead a preventive lifestyle. I had to select my passion around these three subjects. I identified that. Number two, I like pioneering things. I like to do things which nobody else has done. And I like to do things which are innovative. So having looked at all these options in my personal side, I identified entrepreneurs and I identified mental health about 8-10 years back. And at that time, very little work was done in this area by others. So I decided to start my purpose on these two subjects. But before doing that, I did a lot of insight. I met a lot of mental health practitioners, found out what are the key issues, how can we help, and do it in a small way. There is always that learning curve. And we've gone through that learning curve. In case of our entrepreneurship initiative, which you talked about, Ascent, I started working with women entrepreneurs first and did some competitions for them and things like that. But it didn't get traction because the number of women entrepreneurs in India is much smaller compared to the overall entrepreneurs. So we said that why are we looking only at women entrepreneurs? And can we create a system? Then again, we said that can we work with startups? But when you have to work with startups, it's very different because each startup requires an individual mentoring kind of a thing.
Right.
So can we shift the focus to entrepreneurs who have actually reached a certain stage in terms of their business? And can we have a peer-to-peer learning platform? So what I'm trying to say is that both entrepreneurship and mental health have been my passions. I have created a setup for both of them. We have prototyped some options. Some of them didn't work out, so we changed the course.
Right.
So it will not happen that, okay, on day one, you will realize what you want to do, and then, you will have a roadmap for next 3 years, 5 years. Let it evolve. Don't be scared of taking some experiments. Some of the experiments we've done have not worked out. But if something works out, you scale it up.
Yeah.
Now, and I just want to pose a challenge to you, Gauri. And I don't know whether you have a purpose, but now let's see. I want to ask you, what are your passions? And I know cooking or food is your passion.
Yeah, I think that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. I've never actually thought about it, and I know you mentioned to me just now that you're going to ask me this. I think I love doing things with people, and obviously, my business. Yes, it's seen as being about food, but actually, it's more about engaging with people and giving people an exceptional experience. And I think, and that's sort of translated into, multiple things. So whether it's, something that we've done on a charitable front with like feeding people during the lockdown crisis, or, even with doing podcasts, the idea is I've had some amazing interactions with people, over the years. And the idea was, how can I share this? So I don't necessarily think of it, as clearly as that with every aspect of what I do, but I'm drawn clearly towards doing things that, require engagement, with people and giving them whatever I can from my end, whether it's knowledge sharing, whether it's a great meal, etc. So I think, that is what excites me and sort of keeps me going at my work. And one thing that I have learned, maybe sort of, accidentally, but is when we started our restaurant business, we really didn't think about it as, it was an experience that we wanted to create. And it was we had a vision for the kind of restaurant we wanted it to be. And we didn't really think about the profitability of that business, also because we were new to this industry. And I think that really worked in our favor. And the times that we've not thought of things like that, and we have, focused on it purely from a business standpoint, has actually sort of, not backfired, but it's not worked out the same way for us as when we've really gone at it with, a very clear vision and how to achieve that vision at whatever cost. And it's invariably led to profitability.
Yeah,
something that you talk about a lot. That having that sort of idea of what you want to achieve is sort of more important, and the sort of profitability will flow from that. But sticking to your core values and that purpose of why you even got into something in the first place. But I have to. Sorry, I mean, I know you threw a question at me, but how would so what from there?
So I think what I'm hearing from you is that you're not started with a profit purpose, which is very good. Normally profit is the end result of whatever you're doing in the area of customer satisfaction, quality of food, the experience you provide at your restaurant. I think all that and the word of mouth it spreads ultimately leads to higher business, and then the result is profits. So I'm glad you start with profits, because then you will start becoming cost focused and things like that, or price focused and things like that. So just wanted to compliment you on that. Having said that, I think you have a larger purpose in terms of people. Now, what I hear from you is you want to do it, connect people with some other passions you have, which is food, which is maybe talking to me and some others, like interviewing or, podcasts and things like that. So you need to then focus on people. Is a very vast subject. So I think you need to be a little bit more clear. Whom would you want to impact? And there is no right or wrong answer. You may want to improve people's lives by providing better food, by educating. But I think you need to be a little bit more focused in terms of what is your target group. Because people is vast. It's people around the world. Are you talking people within India? What income groups? So I think it has to be a little bit more focused. And then what is the route through which you will reach people? You have already said two routes, which are food and interactions. On mass interaction, not on one-on-one, because that will be difficult. You will not be able to impact lives beyond a point. But it could be your speaking assignments. You are exploring, working with some other individuals who can add value to people. So you have to be clear what routes you will reach apart from food and interaction. The other route, which is your passion, and whom will you want to reach? Because is it urban Indian? Is it rural Indian? Again, within urban Indian, what income groups? So you have to be a little bit more clearer on that front. And then you may want to write articles on food. I don't know whether you are passionate about newer trends in food, which is like organic food, vegan food. I think there are so many trends which are happening in the food itself. I'm just giving you an option. So not to say that you have to choose something. But you have to think through this, debate with some other individual you're close to, your family, your friends, and then work out some options and then prototype and see what is the impact you're creating. Are you getting joy out of it? I think you should get joy out of it. If you don't get joy, no point doing it, because you have put it in the purpose. It has to say that, I enjoyed doing it. And also learn from the other side. I mean, are you able to impact? You did some, podcast or anything, you spoke at event. Were you able to impact the other side? Were you able to influence them, which could have been your purpose? So I think you have to go on measuring on one side what is the impact you're creating, what are the what are the experiments you want to do, and then over a period of 1 or 2 years fine tune that, and then have an organization which will support you. And you have to look at your own business, you have to look at your personal side, you have to look at this also. So everything you can't do it unless you are just doing this in life.
Right.
You have to create some structure below you which will also help you drive 1 or 2, and not big team, but 1 or 2 member team which would drive you in. It could be part-time depending on how big is your. I don't know whether that helps, but I just wanted to take through a process because I think the listeners also each one should try and put themselves in your shoes and see what can they do if you had to identify a purpose.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's something that you have to sit down and actually really think about and, brainstorm and, write down if necessary what it is that excites you and, and how you can sort of give back really. I mean, I think that we tend to do it in many ways and, but it's not really with a vision. It's just that you're reacting to situations and sometimes doing things.
Yes.
But I sort of just want to of course when an organization or an entrepreneur realizes the importance of purpose over profitability, there sometimes could be limitations on how far the company can look at the societal outcome, and especially in times of crisis, it becomes even more difficult for them to look at that big picture and the impact they're having, their actions are having on the community, because you then sort of become more conscious of keeping your business afloat. So how do you think that companies can sort of find that sweet spot, that balance where purpose and profit can coexist?
So actually, I don't see there's a conflict between purpose and profit. If you see that there is a conflict, then you have to decide what is the sweet spot, But if you say that the purpose, now we're talking of the purpose of the organization, not personal purpose, which we talked about it. Now I'm talking of, say, table or your whatever, cooking, whatever, magazine kitchen, what was it called?
Mag Street Kitchen,
Mag Street Kitchen wants to have a purpose, And it could be anything which can be designed by you, But I think when you decide to do that, it doesn't cost much money, frankly. People think that purpose for an organization, it's more to do with effort, energy, and I think what it will do in terms of providing motivation to your own team members. Because for an organizational purpose, all the team members should be doing something.
Right.
You may say, I want to educate my whoever I'm interacting with. If each of you spend maybe 1 hour or 2 hours in terms of a week in educating, the kind of satisfaction you will get will be far more. Yeah. And these guys will think that the organization is far more responsible to the society. And it is not done at the cost of, and people are more than willing to give that extra time and not at the cost of the time they devote to their business or to the company they work for. So I really don't see any conflict between profit and purpose. It actually reinforces profitability, and I would say that a purposeful organization would improve profitability rather than have an negative impact on profitability. So I think you need to just say that this is good, the kind of impact it will create in your customers also. You may say that I'm giving some X percentage of money for education. Give you an example.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of, people will respect you apart from respecting your food and whatnot, the experience. But the brand stands for something and it has a certain value system which goes beyond its product, and it'll help you attract also. So I don't see, actually it helps profitability from a long-term point of view, and it doesn't cost much. It's time-wise, yes, it will cost some. It will mean some extra time, and people I've seen are more than willing to spend their time in doing this beyond what they work. They don't mind stretching themselves over weekends or
I agree,
or early morning or beyond working hours.
I agree, and I think that sort of actually answers my sort of next question, which is that I as an entrepreneur for the last 10 years, I find myself in an environment where a lot of employees, especially the millennials and Gen Z, are constantly sort of joining and leaving the organization. And I think that if an organization is able to have align their values and purpose and make it a part of a culture on a perpetual basis, it's more likely to make these younger employees want to stay with an organization, if they can find some kind of connect with its culture.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you that, I think it has to have the two have to sort of coexist almost, rather than, one take precedence over the other.
Sure.
So, I want to ask you sort of something as a, for the listeners. what have been some of the biggest failures you've encountered in your entrepreneurship journey? And, maybe...
I always say that, there is a saying, sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
There's a better word. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn instead of losing. Right. So after every failure, there has always been some introspection at my end. And there has been a course correction because I committed some mistake or made some mistakes. And why did I do that? And always the new direction which emerges has helped me succeed more. So first of all, I am saying is that no person should have fear of failure. It's absolutely okay to fail. And every person in this world fails. And if you don't fail, there is something wrong with you in terms of risk taking. And you are driven by fear of failure. So that's the wrong thing. And I can give you multiple examples of my failures.
Please do.
Initial phases.
One or two at least.
Yeah. I took some shortcuts and I did not equip my some specialist functions in my organization, like the legal function, the quality assurance functions, the product development function. I was mostly concentrating on sales and marketing and profitability. And I think that put me back. I think we got caught on the wrong foot in all these 2-3 areas. And that made me establish a full-fledged legal function, a quality assurance function, as well as a product development function. As we expanded, I went into some other areas where on paper it looked like very profitable. There were some tax benefits for some range of products. And we launched a tooth powder against market leader like Colgate, and it was a Me-Too kind of a product. It didn't succeed. So we realized that if you really have to win in the marketplace, you need to have some differentiated proposition and you need to create a right to win. So from then onwards, whenever we have to launch a new product, I always ask questions. Is there something new I am doing in terms of pioneering initiative, or am I doing something innovative which others are not doing? And always back new products through that route. If there is a Me-Too product, the chances of success are much lower in a highly competitive environment. And then as the business grew, I was enamored by going international, and many of our products could not be exported internationally. We are active in hair oils, and hair oiling habit has died down in most parts of the world. So we were able to export our products to the Middle East, neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, but not beyond that. And I said that how do I go internationally? And then we identified a company in New York, which was based on principles of Ayurveda. But it was business to business. They were supplying products to the spa industry. And we acquired that business. And B2B business is very different than our core business of going to the consumer. It means relationship building with all the spa owners and all that. So it improved the business group, but it was too small for us to be managed from here. And I think that was a mistake. And the learning from that was, can we actually select some other categories beyond hair oils and go to other international markets? So we expanded our vision from hair oils to what we call pre and post wash hair care. So which includes products like hair serums, hair fall solutions, hair creams, hair gels. And we said that can we go to emerging markets? We identified markets like Vietnam, Egypt, and we acquired some companies in areas. So I think we should have originally done that rather than going into a B2B business in USA. And one more failure, I can go on talking about my failure for half an hour, but just to give you one more failure, and it relates to food, so that may interest you more. So we identified an opportunity for baked snacks, and this was about 7-8 years back, or 8-10 years back, and there was no baked snacks at that time, and I was very passionate about that. And we said that baked snacks is something people are getting health conscious, they don't want to have healthy, they want to have fried food. So if we have baked snacks, then it will do well.
Is this contrary to your product, Saffola?
No, not really. That's okay because Saffola stands hard to get. And if you are able to lose weight by offering something which is good for the heart, so there's no problem in terms of fitment with the brand Saffola. But what went wrong was that because it was under the brand Saffola, we went overboard on ensuring that the health benefits are huge, including helping cholesterol reduction and things like that. So what emerged was very good product on health front, not so good product on taste front. And when it comes to snacks, people are just for taste the most important. So we had to withdraw the product because there was no traction. Initial trials were good, but people said, no, I don't want to eat not such a good tasting product when I reach home in the evening. I want a tasty product. So then after that, we decided that when we entered Saffola Oats, and we entered only Saffola plain oats, and there we had to fight with the likes of Kellogg's and Quaker. We got some market share in terms of, but limited market share. At that time, we realized that Indians like savory breakfast and not a sweet breakfast. So we said that can we do a range of savory oats under the brand name of Saffola Oats. So what became out Saffola Masala Oats. And in that, we went overboard on taste. So we actually profiled the tastes for each state. For example, Andhra people may like more spicy food. Somebody else may like something bland food. You will have a pongal flavor in, say, Tamil Nadu, some other flavor in North. And we designed a range of Saffola Masala Oat products for each state. And we ensured that the product was really tasty. People loved the products. We launched the products, and that product is, I think, doing in the range of 150-200 crores turnover. We have about 80% market share in this range of masala oats, and we are far ahead of other bigger players. So that learning came from our failure in baked snacks.
Yeah.
So give some examples. So don't get deterred by failure. Just analyze. And after each failure, I have seen that we've taken some steps which have worked well.
Right. Of course. No, I mean, we've come across something similar as well with one of our businesses, one of our restaurants where, we about a year and a half after opening it, we realized that it wasn't going in the direction, we needed to. And, but I sort of was quite excited because, of course, there was a huge financial repercussion of this, this lesson, as you call it. But it was the first time I felt like, it didn't come easy and there was a real learning, and it sort of reinforced what we had done right was, previously was the way to do it and not what we had done, this time. And I actually, found it like a hugely rewarding experience, of course, at a price, like I said, but, it was quite rewarding to learn something from this.
So I think one point which I want to talk about, you said that you had an impact financially, and many times, we don't take risks because you're not able to afford that risk, And I always say that can you prototype on a small scale? So when it comes to our launching our products, what we do is we prototype in a city. Our snacks were prototype only in Bombay, or we prototype only in a chain of, say, modern retail stores. So the oats, masala oats were prototyped only in a certain chain and seen the response. And then once you know that the overall response is better, and use that prototype as a way to do market research. So I think many times it may be a good idea. I don't know. I'm not reflecting on what you did in your restaurant. But can you do it on a smaller scale to reduce risks if you cannot afford to take that risk financially?
Sort of just coming back to, entrepreneurs and sort of the future leaders, what are some of the values that human values that that have helped you along the way that that maybe your parents sort of passed on to you? And, what are some of the crucial qualities that future leaders should focus on, developing themselves?
So whole host of values, and I think there are some values and which are, I would say, more hygiene factors. You have to do it, come what may. If you don't do it, then you will be put back. So I would say, and then there are some values which are an option depending on what you want to choose. You may want to choose an alternate option also. So I'm saying the basic values are values to do with integrity, ethics, governance, and irrespective of the size of business, you have to do this. And we've seen organizations which start taking shortcuts in these areas. They get impacted. If they get caught on the wrong foot, they're raid. Then half the time, then they are busy fighting their battles. It impacts their reputation. So I think these are hygiene values, and every organization has to practice them. Having said that, I think what works for me is it has to fit into what organization wants to do. and where does it see getting competitive advantage. For me, innovation is very important. So if I have to drive innovation within the organization, I have to ensure that people are open to each other. They interact with each other, because ideas don't just happen in a R&D lab. It happens in each individual's mind. It gets dialogue with others. And again, it's not individual effort, it's collective effort. It gets dialogue, it gets prototype, it gets scaled up. So it's a lot of human interaction is involved in innovations. So you have to have values of openness and trust. Trust is very important to me, because only if I trust one of my colleagues, I will empower them. Of course, you will have to test out that trust in terms of the capability levels and things like that. But I think I operate, once I am sure that the person is capable, I huge degrees of empowerment, because I can't handle everything in life.
Sure.
But at the same time, ability to control that is important, and having a pulse on the business. I think in today's times, there are some newer values emerged because of COVID, and I think they were not existing, but they've got heightened in the last 2-3 months. And these values are values to do with agility, because now we will have to move far quicker. Values to do with caring, because anxiety levels are very, very high in the environment. Empathy. Communication is very, very crucial, because everybody is feeling very anxious. So just the fact that the leadership is communicating a lot to all the people at frequent intervals is very, very crucial. In addition to what today's values, I am a strong believer in fairness. You need to do something which is perceived to be fair. So fairness is a very important value, and authenticity, which is covered by what I discussed earlier about today's values. So I would say these are, and finally, if you want to succeed, I think curiosity is very, very important. You need to be curious. You need to always want to learn what's new in the environment, what's happening, because I think ultimately you would want to apply that curiosity factor to your life, whether in business or in personal side.
Right. And, I think you sort of, you mentioned about sort of the last few months and, dealing with crisis. And, many entrepreneurs are faced with a huge amount of pressure, generally, but also obviously during the times of crisis. So, how do you deal with stress and create a sense of balance in your life?
So I think, first of all, if you lead a life which is principled life, where you don't cut corners, where you will not get caught on the wrong foot, a lot of stress is eliminated, because you're doing things in the right manner. You are not feeling guilty because you're not harmed anybody, or you're not feeling guilty because you have taken some shortcuts, you evaded some taxes or some laws. So I think that's a very, very, I would say that's a comforting factor. But having said that, still there will be stress depending on the environment. And I think each person has to find their own answers. I would say that at a personal level, what can you do? You need to find your own answers. For me, working out in the gym and exercising on a daily basis is my way to mitigate stress. Somebody else could be meditation. Somebody else could be listening to music or walk. So I think you have to find out what is your passion, which will help you meet with the stress. Having said that, that is helping you to some extent. But the most important way, and you may agree with me on this front, when you're a part of a trust group, when you have a trusted people, 8-10 individuals who are willing to listen to you, they are able to understand what you're going through. The fact that you're talking to them itself is a huge stress buster, In addition to that, you will also hear from them what they would have done in your case. So I think it's very important to have the right set of people whom you can talk to.
Absolutely.
Because if you keep it bottled within yourself, then the stress level will increase. So I think it's very important that you find your group of individuals whom you can talk to on a perpetual basis whenever you're going through stress, and those who understand what you're going through. Yeah. And I think that that communication also will play a very, very important role. In addition, if it is far more serious nature, which is impacting your health or is leading to depression or things like that, then it's absolutely okay to consult a mental health professional. And it's like falling ill, it's like having a fever.
Right.
You don't hesitate to call a doctor. But it's okay to call a mental health professional and, get guidance on that front.
Yeah, no, I have to say that I think, being a member of the Ascent Foundation for the last, 2 years, it took time to kind of get into this sort of format of talking to strangers in a way. But over time, I almost can't imagine not having them around to talk to. And it doesn't mean waiting for problems to happen or for things to reach, high stress levels before talking to them. And, constantly having a sounding board has been sort of a huge sort of relief and, help to me in the last couple of years. So, especially because in my case, I work with my husband. So it's nice to have...
I don't know whether he joined Ascent, but he should join because he'll understand how it can add value,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
It's one thing I'm going to keep separate. But no, I mean, yeah, so I completely agree with you.
Be a part of a separate trust group, but anyway.
I know. So, just sort of kind of wrapping up our thoughts, I think we're all in sort of wrapped up in the sort of crisis of the virus and, lockdown life. And I also feel that at the same time, it comes with a huge wave of opportunities. So, what are your plans for the future and what are you looking forward to, yourself?
So actually, for me, life is going on. I have not gone to office for the last 3.5 months. I don't want to go to office for the next 6 months. Because I've seen it that I'm working from home, I am equally effective. I miss the social side of interactions with people. That's understandable. But looking at my age and looking at the risk involved, I have said that I will. It's okay if I don't go to office for next until December. I've said I will not go to office. That's what it is today. But the work goes on. All my initiatives are getting traction. The Ascent Group, which is you're a part of, we are doing virtual meetings, virtual trust groups. We will have our conclave, which is there. I think we decided to do a virtual conclave. So everything is getting used to our new way of working, and I'm comfortable with that. So my hands are full. I'm doing a lot of things. So whether it is running my own business, is not full time but partly, Ascent or mental health initiative, or I'm on board of many companies or advisory board of some companies. And on top of that, I'm writing a book which is taking my time currently, which will hopefully get released by the end of this year. So it will get released by then.
Wonderful.
Waiting for things to be normal because I was told that this time people are not visiting bookshops. It's better that they're back to normal. So I think my book talks about my own journey, and it's co-authored by one of my mentors, or my only mentor, I would say.
Do you have a name yet?
Yeah, name of the book?
Yes.
Yeah, I think name of the book, I must say that I went to...
Are you allowed to tell us?
No, I went to Ascent Member. I can share, no problem.
Yeah.
I went to Ascent Members and we gathered 4 people, Rupak, Saluja and 3 others. And they came up with a whole host of names, and I was able to finalize the names based on their recommendations. So the name of the book is Harsh Reality.
Ah, very clever. Great. Well, we're looking forward to that for sure. So that's definitely an exciting thing to look forward to. But I think that, you're right. People are definitely rethinking their mode of work and ability to be sort of, change their sort of work style maybe in light of, the situation we find ourselves in. And, I think maybe something good could come out of that going forward. So I think the important thing is to stay optimistic and, and figure out an opportunity in whatever lies ahead of us, I think.
One more thing I would like to add, apart from being optimistic, I fully agree with you. I think be grateful because, when you see the migrant labor who are to walk all the way to their hometowns, and you see ourselves sitting in an air-conditioned room, and we are blessed, absolutely. Okay, some of our businesses may be suffering, but still,
Absolutely.
We have the basic comfort, we have the families with us, and these guys they have suffered so much. So compare yourself with those who are worst off and be grateful, and you will feel much better.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. So, Harsh, I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions. Just sort of say what comes to your mind quickly. So what are you most proud of?
Proud of the fact that I have been able to create an organization which is sustainable, which is profitable, which is respected a lot. And also on my giving side, also I've created some mechanism which is... so I'm overall, I think what impact I've been able to make in terms of through my purpose is something which I'm proud of.
Absolutely. Which one thing do you wish you'd done differently?
Nothing major. I think I'm very happy that I went into a business which did not require greasing of palms or which didn't require any getting a license in Delhi. It is completely de-licensed sector, and that was a very good decision. It is fitted in with my own strengths, and if I had gone into something like high-tech business, I would never have been able to succeed because I cannot understand technology. So I think my choice of business is also. But I mean, looking back, everybody makes mistakes, and some mistakes which I should have taken. I should have paid a little bit more attention to the legal side when it came to agreements with some of our partners, which has put me back in some cases. And also in terms of talent, talent selection, talent retention, and I think that's very important part of any CEO, to have the right talent on board. Yeah. And when you make mistake, you realize. So sometimes I've been a bit soft on that front. I would say these two.
Okay. What's the best book you've read this year?
I read the book about a year back or so. The book Grit. Name of the book is Grit.
Okay.
Grit is a combination of passion and perseverance, determination. So many people think passion is important, but passion by itself is not enough. Passion, if it doesn't succeed and if you give up on that passion, then you're not anywhere. But if you combine passion with determination and perseverance, you will succeed in life. So you have to have grit in life and not just passion.
Any role models or mentors that you give a shout out to?
I've worked with a lot of individuals, and difficult for me to identify, but one person who has helped me a lot. Not that I meet that person, meet him regularly. I meet him maybe once in 6 months or so. But whenever I had an issue, his name is Professor Ramcharan. He is a management guru. He's a coach. He has coached the likes of Jack Welch and others in the past. And he's the one who was co-authoring the book with me, and he's given his insights into my journey. So at the end of every chapter, he's given his insight in the book. So I would say that he's helped me a lot.
Okay. Any message to India's youth today?
I would say that I think first of all, every person is born with some God-given gifts. And each person has to identify what are those God-given gifts. And many times we ourselves don't know what are our gifts. So the key thing is to identify what is my gift. And many times it could be done through interactions with relatives, friends to identify what. And then choose a career which is based on your God-given gifts. And have a 75-25% rule where 75% of your energy will go into improving your gift and 25% in terms of the weaknesses. Unless the weakness is a fatal flaw, then you need to correct it immediately. Otherwise, by and large, follow that 75-25% and leverage your strengths in whatever you do in life.
Okay, last question. Playing golf or playing with your grandkids?
Oh my God.
Choose one.
Oh my God, you put me in trouble. Last 3 months, I am so fortunate to have the grandkids with me. I was in Lonavala last week and I take them for a swim. I spend a lot of time with them. And at this stage where they are much younger, they are 6 and 3, but I was told that once they grow beyond 8-9 years, they want to lead, they want to be far more independent. So I think it's important to spend that extra time. So I would be, on a daily basis, I have to meet that grandchild. But I can combine that over a weekend with golf also.
Lovely. Listen, thank you so much for being here and taking the time out. I really appreciate it. That was a huge, insightful hour for me, and I hope for everyone listening too. And thank you again. And
I hope you are able to arrive at your purpose and do something more than. I'm sure you're already doing it, but you can do much more.
I hope so too. Thank you again.
Great talking to you. All the best.
You too. Thank you. I hope this conversation gave you some food for thought. I realize now that most of the time I just go about my life without really identifying a larger purpose. If I figure out why I do what I do, it may just give me the clarity to make better decisions. Knowing our purpose may compel us to take on challenges that will stretch us as much as they inspire us. Perhaps this podcast is one more step towards an unconscious purpose. I may not be able to give you a recipe for eggs, but hopefully I'll be able to help you navigate your new normal. New episodes of this podcast are out every Wednesday. And if you like this show, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM Podcast Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or website or wherever else you get your podcasts from. You can also follow us on social media. We're at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm at G Devidayal on Instagram and at Gauri Details on Twitter.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
They are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel,
and me, Tushar,
every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.